All right, hey, what's going on, Facebook? I'm in my kitchen. My wife is preparing an amazing meal because she is an amazing wife and an awesome mom. But with that being said, on this video, I want to share 2 lessons that I've learned from my mom. And you know, I think we all have things that I have amazing parents, and I've learned an enormous amount of lessons in life through them. I think we learn more from things that we observe than the things that they actually tell us. But I want to talk about 2 things that my mom said to me, and one in particular that she said over and over and over and over. And you know what? To this day, when I'm faced with situations, I can picture my mom's voice telling me this, and it's really a valuable lesson that I want to share with you. The first one that my mom would say all the time was, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. I bet she told me that 1,000 times. And I will tell you that right there has been an important lesson. And I watched it with my mom and my dad both, you know, growing up, and that they always were willing to do things they didn't want to do. And one of the things I learned is that in life, as we gain more responsibility, as we get older, you know, leaders in different capacities, that it comes with the territory that you have to be willing to do things that you don't want to do. And that's just life. And my mom would tell me that all the time. Sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do. And that's an important lesson because that's part of success, you know. And I will tell you, if you're at a place where you're not where you want to be, the fact is the path to getting where you need to be is covered with times when you have to be willing to do things you don't want to do. Successful people, I don't care how much money you make, you always have to have that mindset that you have to be willing to do things you don't want to do. So that's a lesson that my mom told me over and over and over. They lived it, but it's something that every time I'm faced with a situation that I know I need to do something, but I don't want to do it, I remember my mom, and she says, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. So a very important lesson that I learned from my mom. A second lesson, this one's actually probably more valuable. She didn't say it as often, but I remember the first time she said it, and it's always stuck with me since the very first time she said it, and probably didn't even say it that many times, but I can remember it so clearly, and I think about it all the time. But when I was much younger, she was talking about a certain situation. She said, "Rich, sometimes, or some people make life a lot harder than it needs to be." And that just really, really stuck with me because you know what? One of the things I've learned is that God sent His Son to die for me and conquered death and conquered sin, but it doesn't mean that life is not hard. Life is hard anyway. Like we were never promised an easy life. Life is hard. But that statement always stuck out to me because life's already hard. I don't want to make it harder than it needs to be. And I just remember my mom saying, hey, some people, Rich, they make life a lot harder than it needs to be. And the fact is, really what she was saying is there's consequences for every decision that we make. And while we may be forgiven, right, consequences, if we make poor decisions, we're going to pay for them later. So I always think about that. In what ways am I making life more difficult for myself than it needs to be? And that's just a great question to ask yourself. It's a really, really hard thing to see in yourself, but hopefully you surround yourself with people that maybe, if necessary, can help you to see it. But it's a great question, and realize that we just don't need to make life harder than it already is. Life is, all of us go through hard times. Life is not easy by any means for anybody, but some people just make life a lot harder than it really needs to be because of poor decisions. And I don't want to make my life any harder than it needs to be. So 2 great lessons that I learned from my mom is sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do, and some people just make life a lot harder than it needs to be. So hey, if you find this beneficial, I would be honored if you would share it. And I would actually ask, if you're watching this video, I would love it if you would go invite 2 people to this group. Just add 2 people, maybe someone you think that would appreciate it, maybe someone who could benefit from it, but I would love it if you invited 2 people to this group. I got a lot of fun ideas and just want to add value for anyone, whether, again, an entrepreneur in sales or just someone that's interested in self-improvement and likes that kind of content. I would love it if you invite them to the group. So, hey, thanks, everybody. Have a great Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon.